Hello, students. Welcome to Coach Stroud's What to Read During Quarantine. In this first episode, I'm going to go over a few books with you from my own personal library that I personally love, some ones that I didn't talk about in the tour yesterday, but some stuff to give you some ideas of things that you can read while you are at home right now under quarantine. So let's start off with some good old American literature. Right here, the first book I have for you is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Now, this book it's an amazing text, and it's amazing for a few different reasons. One, Salinger really knows his characters well. He spent a lot of time, he used to write in his backyard in like a little makeshift office that he had out there in like a shed. And he would spend days out there writing for these characters and really creating this world that these characters lived in. And a lot of the stuff that he wrote never even made it into the book. And that's basically so that he could fully grasp and understand who he was writing about and the story he was trying to portray in his novels. The Catcher in the Rye is by far his best piece of work. It's also the one that he's known most for, and it's about a kid named Holden Caulfield and you know, the struggles of life. He gets kicked out of school. He has to go home and face his family. He doesn't want to do that. It's about his adventures of going home from that prep school, Pincy Prep, I believe is what it's called, and facing realities. And it's a great title. Great book to read. Really fills that teenage angst void that some of y'all might be feeling right now. People just don't understand me. This is the book for you. If you feel that way, that people don't understand you, you and Holden are going to get along, and you're going to think about a lot of phonies. You'll get the reference if you read the book. It's a very common book that's out there. You'll find it in many local libraries before they get shut down for quarantine, or you can order one off of Amazon for relatively pretty cheap. Some people asked me to talk about, when I talked about the teenage horror books yesterday that I really loved, I pointed out one in particular, and I said it was Christopher Pike's Whisper of Death. This copy right here is not my original copy. This is one I found a few years ago at a used bookstore, and as you can tell by the cover, it is awesome. It's kind of creepy. It looks very 80s. The kids in the picture there, definitely very 80s, very 90s, but it is a story within so many different stories. But basically, the main characters are going through like a transformation of sorts. They're growing up in this world that they're confused about, and life, just being a teen in general, is confusing. And then all of a sudden, the world ceases. Everything disappears. All the people, except for random individuals from their high school. And it's, I think, a total of like 6 kids. And they find short stories written about themselves throughout their town. And the stories are really creepy. And the stories are in here as well. That's a part of the book. So the characters, they try to escape the town, and they can't. They get caught up in a dust storm and a sandstorm, and they can't escape. So they are stuck in this town of theirs that is completely deserted, and the creepiness just starts from there. It's a great title. This one probably won't be in a library. I know they still sell it on Amazon. People usually sell used copies or on eBay. But I think I picked up mine for like $1.25 or something like that. But it's a fun read, and it's honestly one of the best teen horror books that I've ever read. Great story. Whisper of Death by Christopher Pike. Give that a look at. Next, if you need something funny, something that's quite interesting, I know a lot of you have read The Hunger Games. Well, here's The Hunger Pains. This is a parody book written by the Harvard Lampoon, and it is absolutely hilarious. When I read this the first time, I had just literally finished reading the Hunger Games series and then picked this up and read it, and I could not stop laughing throughout the entire thing. It is absolutely just hysterically funny. The girl's name in it, instead of Katniss Everdeen, is Can't Kiss, Never Clean. which sounds hokey and kind of corny and stuff, but it's really funny. So if you're a fan of the Hunger Games, definitely pick up a copy of The Hunger Pains. You're really going to enjoy it. I promise you that. Again, maybe not in your local library. It could be possibly. The Harvard Lampoon, is actually a newspaper. A group of students from the newspaper at Harvard, and every now and then they put out comedy stuff like this. It's a beautiful book. It's really funny. Look for it online if you're interested in that. Again, eBay, Amazon, you'll definitely find it. I talked about some of the plays that I was in. This is one of them. This is one of my favorite plays. It's The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. Now, this is my original script, which is why it's missing the cover and the back part. But this is an absolutely amazing play. For those of you who, I've had students in prior classes where we've read The Crucible and we read The Glass Menagerie. Those are plays that we read in class, and they're good stories. So reading plays is definitely a way that you can pass the time in quarantine. The Mousetrap is a great mystery. Again, Agatha Christie is one of the best mystery writers ever. She's not American. I know I'm American lit teacher primarily, but she's English. But her stories are incredible. The mysteries are absolutely incredible. And this is a great play that you can read. Again, look on Amazon, look on eBay if you're interested. I know for a fact right now, Amazon is still making deliveries. So if you need to find something, it's out there. You can find it. If you're looking for a good comic to read, or graphic novel of sorts, right here, it's kind of hard to see, but this is the hardback version of A Killing Joke, which is, let me see if I could show it there. A Killing Joke by Brian Boland. And it is basically the story of the Joker from Batman, and the artwork is phenomenal in it. The story is really good. It's really detailed. It's kind of dark, but here's just some of the artwork right there. This is a pretty famous image of Joker. Maybe you've seen it before, but this is where it comes from, is this book here. Great story. A lot about the Joker's origins. Really, it's kind of intense in certain ways. I don't know. It's just a good story. I'm not a huge graphic novel person. I'm not a huge comic person, but I absolutely loved reading this story. It was phenomenal. I gave it to my son to read. He enjoyed it too. The artwork is just incredible. I mean, beautiful artwork. Very quick read. You can finish it easily in one sitting, but if you really want to enjoy it, like kind of look at it and go back and whatnot, it's just a good read. It's just an overall good read. So there's your comic or graphic novel if you're interested in that. Somebody sent me a message yesterday when I talked about Stephen King, and I said Blockade Billy was my favorite Stephen King story, and it is, and I love it to death. It's a novella. It's very short. It's I believe it's like 120 pages, 140. Stephen King has written some really long books, some really big ones, but. So someone asked me, like, okay, if they can't get a hold of Blockade Billy, their parents had a bunch of Stephen King books at their house. What should they read then? Well, I'll let you know my two other favorite ones. First one is The Dead Zone by Stephen King, and it's fantastic. It's a great story about, if you had a chance to change history in a way, would you do it, or how would you go about it? Even when everybody says you're crazy, or if you know something about somebody that's, could potentially be bad, what would you do? That's one of these stories here. That's The Dead Zone by Stephen King. It's fantastic read. Really good book. Again, you can definitely find that at your library, Amazon, eBay. The next one, and this one is a little bit different. This is called The Long Walk. And this is a Stephen King story that he wrote actually from... It was a part of those Bachman books that I was talking about yesterday. So Stephen King, when he first was getting published, his first novel published was Carrie. And Carrie is a wonderful story. It's a great story. It's not too long. It's a very easy read and very enjoyable read. But Carrie while he was trying to get Carrie published, he had other books and other novels that he had finished that he couldn't get published yet. He hadn't been picked up yet. So publishers at that time did not want to put out more than one novel a year from an author. Because they felt like it made it look like the author's work wasn't very good if they could just pump things out. Well, the thing was that Stephen King had a couple of books that he had already written before he finally got a publishing deal. This was one of them. So he wrote this book and published it under a different name, Richard Bachman. And so now you can find it obviously with the Stephen King name on it, because everybody now knows that Stephen King or Richard Bachman was Stephen King. But The Long Walk is a really interesting book about dystopian society, dystopian United States. And it's a competition, kind of like the Hunger Games, where a group of people are brought together, a group of teenagers are brought together, and they start a walk. And the last teenager standing at the end of it wins. So I think, if I recall, it's 50 kids that start, or 100 kids. I can't remember. It's been a while since I read it. But they all start out, but only one kid can win. But the thing is just like the Hunger Games, only one kid can survive. So the way they go about that, if you slow down, if you get too slow, or you fall out or something like that, that those kids are done away with, kind of like in the Hunger Games. So if you enjoyed, I know I keep saying the Hunger Games 1,000 times, but if you enjoyed that book, you might actually really enjoy Stephen King's The Long Walk. It's an excellent read. I love this book. I got two more here for you, and then I'm done. So good. I love biographies. I especially love biographies about musicians. I have a ton of them. This one is, and I don't have the dust cover for it. I honestly, I don't know what happened to it. I probably got rid of it years ago. This one is called So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star by Jacob Slitter. And actually, I should say Dr. Slitter, because he actually has his doctorate. He was the drummer of the band Semisonic. And for those of you who don't know who Semisonic is, or don't recognize the name, you've probably recognized the song, Closing Time. Closing time, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Good singing now. So that band right there that wrote Closing Time, this dude was a part of. Jacob was the drummer for that band, and this is his story about how that band went about forming, how he joined the group, what he experienced once that band hit Semisonic, got some fame, and then what happened afterwards when their fame dwindled and went away. It's a great read. He is a fantastic author, and he's got his doctorate, I believe, in African Studies, if I'm not mistaken. Great read. So this one's called So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star by Jacob Schlitter. And I'm probably butchering his name, to be honest. And then the last one, if you're looking for a good motivational book, a good book that's going to help keep you pumped up, keep you focused, keep you in a good positive mindset, this is a great title here for you. And the interesting part is this is also a local boy. Yes, this young man, well, he's not so young anymore. I believe he's actually older than me. But he grew up in Swanee, Georgia, which is, not too far from, the Mall of Georgia. And his name is Kyle Maynard, and he wrote a book called No Excuses. Now, what's awesome about this book is that Kyle here, he was born with no arms, no legs. And this is a book about his life and how he went through life, how he wrestled for Collins Hill High School, and how he has gone and done all these amazing things afterwards. In fact, I believe if you Google his name, a lot of stuff comes up. I believe he's climbed many different mountains. And I think he actually owns a fitness gym here in Georgia somewhere still. Not 100% sure, because this book was published, I think, back in, back in 2005. So it's been a while since this book came out. His life has obviously changed since then. But it is a great motivational book about just being the best self you can be, staying positive, looking toward the bright things in life. Overcoming Obstacles. Wonderful book. Kyle Maynard's No Excuses. Take a look at that. So, kids, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is out there watching, my students, I love you guys. I miss you like crazy. Again, these are some books that you can read while on quarantine. Check your local library. I believe you can email your library and try to get books that way. I know when my grandma was still around, my Nana, she used to get library books through the mail. So I know that is a system that still is out there. I don't know how to go about doing that, but it's something you can look into. eBay, Amazon has these books if any of them interest you. And of course, once this quarantine ends and we get back to school, if any of you need to or would like to borrow any of these, by all means, I will bring them in for you. I miss you guys. I love you bunches. I hope you're doing well. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help you out. Have a good day. Bye, guys.